episode of The Young Turks is brought to you by Netflix. Go to netflix.com/TYT for your free trial membership. The TSA, of course, has already started their intense pat-down methods. So if somebody looks a little suspicious, they'll pull someone aside, and they'll get a very thorough pat-down. So recently, it turns out that TSA officials in New Orleans patted down a 6-year-old girl. We have a video of this. Let's watch the video, and you'll get an idea of what the pat-down was like.
We were leaving New Orleans from a family vacation, and when we proceeded to go through the security line, we were selected to go through the new screening procedures. Anna was picked to go through. Pretty much everybody except the baby was picked to go through the scanner. And for some reason, Anna was selected for a pat-down. I can only speculate as to why. I didn't get a lot of information, although I did ask questions as to why she was being selected for pat-down. I didn't really get a lot of information. I did ask for alternatives. I asked for her to be rescanned and was refused.
But they didn't give you any...
I chose to videotape it because, no, they just refused and said they were going to do what they were going to do. And not verbally, but in no uncertain terms, apparently the TSA supervisor is very skilled at nonverbal communication, letting me know that there would be trouble if I caused a fuss.
But nothing was said because we heard that we saw the TSA agent that was patting down your daughter was being as gentle as possible, but absolutely can understand.
That agent was acting. That agent was doing what she was instructed to do.
Todd, what was your little girl's
agent off camera?
Thank you. What was your was Anna's reaction as this was happening and afterwards?
Well, I think initially she was just confused, but she's very respectful adult. That yes, ma'am, did what she was asked to do. Then afterward, she broke down with crying because she really didn't understand what she'd done wrong. And so we were really struggling with how do we explain this, because we've really stressed her, your son.
Okay, so the parents in the end were basically talking about how they had to explain what happened to her because she was a little frightened by what happened. But she had already walked through the scanner. This is the part of the story that I don't think makes any sense. She walked through the scanner, okay, and then TSA officials pulled her aside and decided to do a pat-down anyway. I thought you'd do either or. I didn't think that you'd have to do both, especially if you're a 6-year-old girl. So, and another part of this story that really irritates me is the fact that the mother is just asking questions. She wants to know why her 6-year-old daughter is being patted down after going through the scanner. And they're not giving her the information that I think she has the right to know.
Yes, I hear you. Look, should they pat down the 6-year-old? Of course not. Come on, common sense. You know that she's not packing heat. She's not going to cause any trouble on the plane, etc. On the other hand, and maybe I'm going to be a little unfair here, but I wish the parents would be a little calmer, right? Like, if my 6-year-old got patted down, okay, yeah, it bothers me a little bit. It doesn't make much sense. I don't think I'd go on national TV over it. Okay, and then she cries. Kids cry. I'd be like, hey, you know what? It's no big deal. They were just doing a security check. You'll be all right. You want to grab a sandwich?
Well, in the parents' defense, the video went viral. They received a lot of attention for it, and they went on national TV to talk about it. I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not criticizing them for that at all. I think that a really important issue here is the fact that they didn't get the information that they asked for. And, the TSA, they have this idea that they rule everything when it comes to airport security. They feel like they don't have to answer to anyone. They don't need to answer any questions. They get to do whatever they want, So they get to pat down this 6-year-old, and when the parent is asking them a very specific and I think acceptable question, they don't answer that question. Why is that? Why do you give the mother a look like, oh, you better stop asking me questions or else there's going to be trouble? No, she gets to ask whatever question she wants. Her 6-year-old is being thoroughly patted down by some stranger. Okay, so go ahead, Cenk.
I'm going to continue to be controversial here because I'm 50-50 on that. Look, the TSA takes me down sometimes. If I'm like, hey, why? They're going to tell me to piss off, and they probably should. They don't have to explain every pat down to every person. Now, this seems egregious because it's a 6-year-old and it makes no sense. I get that. I'm not defending that, right? But at the same time, they are security, right? And so if everybody's getting up in their business, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? It's, I don't think they have, I don't think they need to explain it. They're security. And look, are they getting carried away a lot of times? Yes, of course. We all get frustrated with it, and that's part of the reason for these stories. But at the same time, you have to give them a little bit of leeway. And if they have the rules that they're supposed to do it randomly, then randomly they do it to a 6-year-old. Look, the opposite would be only do it to hairy Middle Eastern men. Okay, so then I'd get patted down more. They don't even know I'm Middle Eastern. I wouldn't. It's not something I deal with that much at all. But then people would complain about that, is my point, right? So when they do it randomly, people complain about that. Maybe I'm the only guy in the country in this particular case defending the TSA a little bit, at least in that regard.
No, I think that an adult being patted down and asking why he or she is getting patted down is completely different from a 6-year-old getting patted down and having the mother wonder why. Okay, the mother is protective. The mother wants to know what's happening, and I think she has the right to know. And also, 6-year-olds shouldn't be patted down at all. No, I don't think they should be. I think that after a certain age, it makes sense to do the pat downs should you choose a pat down versus the scanner, right? But a 6-year-old should go through the scanner, and that should be that. She's not hiding a gun under a flap of fat or something. She's a 6-year-old, okay? Just let it go. You don't need to touch her inner thighs and, go over her jeans to make sure she doesn't have a weapon. I think it's stupid, and I think the mother had a right to know why they decided to pull her aside and pat her down.
Get a load of Netflix. They deliver the movie to your house, no late charges, free shipping.
You can watch thousands of movies or TV shows straight on your PC or on your television through a gaming console.
Netflix.com/TYT. Free trial membership. You get Netflix all over.